part 2 to my series called Hoodoo versus Voodoo versus Christianity. This topic was inspired by the Sinners movie. A lot of people are talking about voodoo and hoodoo and African spirituality as a whole, so it's only right. Now, in the last part, I ended with hoodoo. Now, if you didn't watch part 1, hoodoo is basically an amalgamation of African spiritual practices, Native American practices, and also Christianity. It was created by and for African Americans, descendants of slaves. It is a closed practice, and you can only practice if you are a descendant of slaves. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now let's talk about voodoo. Now voodoo originated in Benin and it made its way to Haiti. The difference between voodoo and hoodoo is the fact that it was a very closed practice and it was only practiced in Hispaniola, which is modern day Haiti. And then it made its way up to Louisiana. That's where you have like the famous little voodoo queen, voodoo king, things like that. The difference between hoodoo and voodoo is hoodoo came from America. We were on this soil. Voodoo came from African soil. So it doesn't have any much Native American influence, I could say. And not to mention is a very closed and strict practice. Now, what I didn't mention was that hoodoo, you don't need an initiation. Voodoo, you do. Now, what I didn't mention in part 1, I don't think, is that hoodoo originated, or I guess you could say, it came from, it became widely practiced by the Gullah Geechee people. If you don't know who they are, I have a video on them on my page, but to briefly put it, they're a group of free black people who were once enslaved. They took their land that was rightfully acquired, and they created their own communities all up and down North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all of them down the coast, right? And they are still alive and vibrant. It's a beautiful community today. But the reason I bring them up is because they were the ones that initially started to openly practice hoodoo. The difference, like I said, between hoodoo and voodoo is a very closed, strict practice. You need initiation. You have to, and this isn't just somebody who practices and tells you, oh yeah, you're good. No. There's an entire process. Very close practice. Hoodoo, even though it originated by the Gullah Geechee people, it is open all throughout the African diaspora, but specifically African Americans. Now, enough about the similarities and differences. Let's go back in time. So in part 1, we went over how Christianity was spread throughout Africa, not as a tool for prosperity or for hope. It was literally used as a tool of destruction to subdue African people into becoming slaves, and also to justify slavery in itself. So now all these European countries then found out that African people are easy to sway into Christianity. So now you have all these African countries kidnapping a bunch of African people, right? With the help of some West African kingdoms, which have since apologized and taken accountability. But now you have this group of African people from different parts of this continent with different practices. So you bring them over to Haiti, and let's just say voodoo. You bring them over to Haiti, and yes, they know Christianity, but they also know their roots. So now they're practicing. This goes into the Haitian Revolution. The Haitian Revolution is, bottom line, one of the only reasons hoodoo and voodoo is so demonized today. If you don't know about the Haitian Revolution, I love the Haitian Revolution. Okay, I'm going to always fucking reference it. But if you don't know anything about it, it was the only successful slave revolt that ended with a black-led republic. Haiti is still the only black-led republic. But during the revolution, they used their ancestors, they used voodoo to make sure that they had people on the other side on their side too, fighting in this battle with them, their ancestors, their guides, that entire list of, deities in different dimensions. And it ultimately led to an amazing victory. Granted, Haiti is only poor because the Western countries, including America, make sure it never, ever gets out of debt, because Haiti will always be the example of a black-led republic. And as long as that example is poor and living in trenches, they have nothing to worry about. But once it got out that voodoo was used in the Haitian Revolution, you can guarantee they were not going for that. This is antebellum era. Any tools used to help Haiti in that revolution was demonized, and voodoo being one of them. But before the Haitian Revolution, we had someone called Nat Turner. Nat Turner used the solar eclipse, right? He used the solar eclipse as a signal, a sign from the heavens that now was a time to revolutionize and rise up. Now, this isn't necessarily a direct form of hoodoo, but it wasn't Christian, and they were not going for it. Before I keep going, y'all, I have a nonprofit dedicated to keeping Black history in our schools. It is a 2-hour program teaching Black history. It's taught by HBCU students. Right now, we are in 2 different schools, but we're looking to be in a bunch of different schools all over Atlanta public schools. In the meantime, you can see me come speak during the Juneteenth parade. I will also be hosting a panel, and I'll also be on that panel speaking. I'll be giving the speech about what Juneteenth is in Atlanta. I hope to see you there the 14th through 15th. But let's get back into it. All right, so you got Nat Turner looking up at the stars with his hoodoo, his supposed hoodoo. Then you got the Haitian Revolution, the Haitians with their voodoo. They were putting the pieces together. But white people didn't really know what was going on, so they sent so many agents into these small practice like circles, all these different rituals. I guess I get it. You know, there's a lot of weird activity going on. I don't like that. I don't like that. That's what they said. I'm just playing. But no, for real. Now, the purpose for these agents in these circles, and this is not speculation. Everything that I'm saying can be proven. Do your own research. And all of the agents that they sent into these circles, they reported back with what they saw during these rituals. What you have to understand is just because you don't understand it, it doesn't make sense to you, does not mean that it is evil. I say that because during rituals and during these circles that these white people were infiltrating, they would see sacrifices, and they would see a lot of different things. Like, and obviously, like, to them, it's kind of like, oh, snap, like So these agents would come back to whomever sent them, you know, the people that's going to produce the next week's paper, and say, hey, yeah, they're doing this, they're killing each other, they're eating each other, they're doing this, blah, blah, blah. When in reality, they just don't understand it. And the whole point of sending that agent in there for information was so that some of the information could be true. Like, yes, they are doing sacrificial rituals, but it's not evil. So the whole point of having these agents was literally to make the connection enough to where it becomes believable that what they're doing is evil, because I've seen it myself. I saw it myself. How will we know if they're doing this if it's such a closed practice? Now, mind you, during this time, like 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, you had the scientific revolution. So you had, if you don't know a lot about the scientific revolution, just know that Catholicism and Christianity was on the rise. And if you didn't commit to Christianity, you're out of there. Get them out of there. So imagine that going on worldwide. You doing something that's a little questionable to these white people. You already know it's not going to get a lot of good press. So a lot of black people started to hide their practice. A lot of black people started to just commit and submit to Christianity and say, hey, I'll be Christian out in the open. And that is true. The Hoodoo specifically is definitely Christian on the face, but deep down, oh baby. For instance, certain deities in Hoodoo, and I believe in Voodoo as well. I can't speak much on Voodoo because I don't know much about it. But I do know in Hoodoo, certain entities are masked with Christian entities or Christian figures, right? So you'll have, you know, a female deity being portrayed as Mother Mary. So then you walk into a Hoodoo church or a black person's church and you think they're honoring Mary, but in reality, so like there's how do you explain it? It was literally just a mask. That's the best way I can explain it. But that shame that was forced onto us, the shame of our own practices, kind of bled into what we have today of voodoo and of hoodoo. Voodoo will always be demonized as long as we keep that stigma alive. So next time a person tells you that they practice hoodoo, don't be scared. If you don't know a lot about it, ask them. I'm pretty sure they have no problem telling you. But let's start to destigmatize certain things, especially this, because not honoring your ancestors to me is so wrong, because these are the people that worked so hard to put us here. And if you're a black African American, think about how much your one ancestor had to go through. Your one line of ancestors had to go through 400 years of slavery. Think about that. And they didn't go through all that just for you to say, oh no, I can't talk to them, they evil. They here anyway. Now, mind you, I'm not trying to force this on nobody. This is supposed to be educational. But if you want more information or you want a part 3, I could expand on some things. But if y'all are good, I'm good. But yeah, did you know this?